Yeah, so run out of our phone battery. Run out of phone battery there. Um, so yeah, the whole manual from beginning to end is like how they set the framework for someone's life. At the beginning, you have the chapters concerning the Freudian analytics and the Freudian psychoanalysis. So a lot of the Freudian psychoanalysis misappropriated, and the use of the Copthorne of Dr. Schreiber, etc., etc. And then once you get to the middle of the manual, you have the physiobiology of repression in health and what lays out the framework for the inducement of disordered physiobiological functioning, how to tap into the neurology of the victims. And as you get to the end of the manual, everything concerning cancer studies and the inducement of cancer. Um, it's kind of like how they set the framework for someone's life. They start off when you're a child with a Copthorne and the Freudian analytics, and then halfway through your life, you're targeted with the misappropriation of integrative health science. And because of the exposure to all of these differing misappropriated treatments that they appropriate the use of as Nazis, working within the clinical social sciences, by the end of it, most of the victims will end up cancer ridden. Um, Although it is still possible that other factors not known to be crucial in cancer development may have influenced psychological responding, the two cancer groups used in this study, advanced and recurrence free, diseased and non-disease control groups. Uh, yeah, I don't know. The manual's because this is the same manual that Gabby Dixon's modelled himself on, the Gabby E. Schwartz chapter. It's a strange manual because at the beginning of it you've got the Kopf and everything concerning Freud and Schreiber. In the middle of it you've got the chapter by Schwartz, and at the end of it you've got everything concerning the inducement of cancer, and you've got a write-up by Francis Bacon. There's some quotes from Francis Bacon, which I find ironic. I find a page with a quote by Francis Bacon. Long before Tompkins or Freud, Francis Bacon in The Advancement of Learning wrote, da 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 da. Yeah, the part about Bacon at the end on page 488. Um, And that's kind of how it worked over in the Royal Liberty of Haven at Ibawa, with the misappropriation of the Royal Institute of Gynecologists and obstetricians, with the cancer scares and cancer proneness, and the misappropriation of neoplastic disorder and the measures put in place to prevent pregnancies with the misappropriation of the biopsies and all the rest of it. Um, uh, what was I saying? The reason I'm making this video is because, yeah, I find it ironic that Michael died of a heart attack. And if that RF field generator could be used to manipulate cardiac arrhythmias, induce sudden cardiac death, cardiac disorder, and there was a 4-month-old infant in one of the flats whilst the RF field generator was being operated. And I remember thinking at the time, like, for his Perth power trip here, Sir Beelzebub and his exposure, his voyeurism, his exhibitionism, his aggrandizing of taking place here and the operating of the RF field generator as though he's head of the Royal Signal Corps and all the rest of it, all of his role playing as he thinks he's clever. Sir Beelzebub, the bib dribbling one, and his gaffer John Bacon. Sir Beelzebub, he could have induced the death of a newborn in their cot death, sudden cardiac. In terms of cardiac laterality, CNS, ANS, and all of this stuff concerning predisposition to from exposure to just because of exposure. Sir Beelzebub, who through his vainglorious perverted power trip would not only have people's children targeted, a hospital corrupted, embedding needles in his victims, his gaffer that gets to electrocute little kids with a handheld stun gun for their perv neo-Nazi fucking religion. But he'd also induced the death of a newborn in its cot, innit? Sir Beelzebub, the bib dribbler, inducing cot deaths with the RF field generator. Now, I'm not saying that he had done that. He has done that. I'm just saying that the potentiality factor was there, wasn't it? Like if operating that equipment, it's you wouldn't let's put it this way, yeah. If he got that old 1950s Admiralty RF field generator out, put it in a car, drove it up to Kettering General Hospital's maternity ward, would they let him operate it on the maternity ward around newborn babies? Of course they wouldn't. They tell you to switch your mobile phone off in there, let alone operate in old dodgy 1950s RF field generators. Now this RF field generator had been adapted for the appropriated use of inducing lots of different forms of physiobiological disorder, whether that involves CNS, ANS predisposition to ventricular tachycardia, cardiac arrhythmias, and irregular heartbeats, or whether that involved the inducement of torture stimulus, such as the mean intensity of pulse volume required to elicit the excitation process in terms of the mean intensity of electric current required to elicit the pain sensation threshold in terms of cerebral dyslateralization, when the RF field generator was used in conjunction with the tapped candidate or the tapped victim, the dentally neurally tapped victim. Crude sociobiology, I guess, that involves, setting the victim up for the neuroanatomical tapping, and that just involves a couple of dental crowns, isn't it? Once they're tapping the tooth pulp after them, he's operating the RF field generator. That's enough to induce. But the inducement of a cot death, for God's sake, come on, you know what I mean? You got newborn infants like in close proximity to him, and he still doesn't care. He was still operating that RF field generator. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm really tired. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've made a few videos. And doubt I'll watch this or listen to it at a later date. Um, hmm. Schreiber DGM, same manual, 1853. Der schädlichen Kopfverhutungen Gewaltheiten der Kinder nebst engaged the methodization, or whatever it is, for harmful body positions and habits of children, including a statement of counteracting measures. Say this. Schreiber DP. Schneider. I'm trying to see what I can find out at the beginning of the manual. Oh God, very tired.